Hey everyone, I'm Kristi Valenzuela and I'm super excited to bring to you yet another Summit Salon Business Center webinar. I love doing these webinars and just bringing you powerful hot tips with the top talent that we have. And today we have a very important topic. So if you're a salon owner, you definitely want to tune in. In fact, I highly recommend that you either do screenshots as we're talking today or get a pen and paper ready. So today we're going to talk about everything we need to know, a salon owner needs to know before signing a lease or a renewal. So we're going to break through some common myths and mistakes that salon owners make with our industry expert and member of our SSBC team, Lynn Chisholm, who is our lease consultant and in our financial division, and she's going to be your expert today. So Lynn, I just want to say thank you for being with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. Very looking forward to speaking on this topic.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of mysteries, and when there's mysteries, there's mistakes. Would you agree that salon owners make and probably cost them thousands of dollars inside of a year's time? Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
So I think everybody's ears just perked up because anytime we can save money, that's important. And you know, as part of Summit, we're always watching your budgets. And, you know, the rent line is very important because that's eventually going to be a fixed cost for you. So we got to get this right. So you can spend your money elsewhere. We've got to get that lease where you need it to be. Before we start, I just want to thank L'Oreal Professional Products to really help us come together as business resources together with all the beautiful brands that you see on the screen there. You know, L'Oreal, we just appreciate you. We appreciate our partnership, and we are so excited because you help us reach out way past our Summit community to cool people and salon owners that are listening to this webinar right now. All right, so Lynn, let's go ahead and get started. What do we need to know before signing a lease?
So before signing a lease, the first thing that is going to happen is you are going to find a location. The most important thing is that salon owners need to know what rents are in their own areas for their own information. And the way to do that, Kristi, is to decide what it is, where you're headed. So there's so many different rates within any given town or city. We all know that, you know, if you're downtown, that's going to be much different. A downtown boutique versus a strip center that is in a neighborhood. So there's so many different things that no one except someone who's in that area can find out that information. And a salon owner definitely wants to shop around to find out what's being offered. So you can do this very simply by looking for, there'll be signs in windows for lease. There'll be signs from developers saying this is under development or something is going to be starting construction. So you can find out information and call these landowners and ask them, what is your base rental? And what are your, CAM means common area maintenance. It's also referred to as operating costs. And usually the difference there is sometimes between if you're in a mall or if you're in a strip center. But it's your operating costs and your taxes. And you want to ask them, are they offering, again, a leasehold improvement allowance or a build-out allowance? It has different names, but are they offering an allowance to allow the salon owner to build out their space, because it costs a lot of money, and new tenants going into spaces typically will get some sort of incentive. So always ask that.
Now, do you find, that landlords, gosh, how can I say this in a politically correct way? Landlords might hold things back because they know you're new. I'm using kind of air quotes if you can't see me, but they know you're new. They know you haven't done this before, or you don't do this every day. So do you think they kind of hold things back and kind of keep them under wraps and hide things sometimes?
They absolutely do. And that is the reason which will be, kind of coming up on the next slide, is what you need to ask the right questions in the beginning. So when it comes to when you're looking for a location, those rental questions will kind of give you an idea of where you're going to be shopping, where you can afford to go. But the next part, as soon as you kind of know and you touch base with the landlord and have that initial conversation, you want to hire, I will say me, a lease consultant. And the reason is because I've seen it many times when I get even the LOI, which is letter of intent, or offer, it's already signed by the tenant. It says that it's not binding, but trust me, the landlord is going to hold you to it as best he can. And I will see so many things that are not there right at that stage. And I want to see a lot of very important information put in right from the beginning. So landlords definitely do hold back, and they wait for someone to ask them. And you can't ask them when you're new, because you don't know the questions to ask.
So Lynn, I just want to interject, and I'm the perfect person to be listening to your teaching today because I've never done this before. And, so I'm listening with new ears. So you're saying you've scouted around, you've, looked for where you want to be in town, or in the city. You then call around, you then kind of focus in on a location, and then you ask the landlord to send you information, right? So send me all the information, which would be the letter of intent, basically what he's offering, right, for the lease. You're saying
Correct.
Before you sign anything, hire a lease consultant.
Correct.
Okay, good. So don't sign anything. Write that down. Write that down. Do not sign anything. Even though Lynn said, even though it might say it's not binding, that's where the landlord's going to get maybe a little bit sticky. So just before you do that, have an expert that does this every day. See, that's the benefit of a lease consultant like Lynn. She does this every single day. So she knows what to look for. And you said, Lynn, you're going to look for things that need to be in there right now so that you help them see the things that might be missing. And then you go back to the landlord and you say, I've put some more things in here that we need to talk about. Is that what you do?
That's it, exactly. Now, every situation is different, which of course, happens every time. Every question that you ask really starts with, it depends on the situation, but an LOI is not binding. And after you do sign that, the landlord wants to go to an offer or a lease. But if you get your LOI right, and there's time to do it, because unfortunately I can't really do everything in real time. So I need you to send it to me. I can review it, but I am going to need a day or two or, 3, depending on what's going on. So if it's like that time sensitive, you have to do what you have to do. But if there's time, if you just start talking with that landlord, send it off to me. I can review these very quickly because they are very short form, and I can tell you what's missing and send it off. And then all you do is you send it back to the landlord and say, these things look good, except I'd like to add this, or I'd like to change that. So it just starts your negotiating process. And when you negotiate a lot of the terms up front, it makes it easier when it comes to the lease as well. So it is definitely beneficial to do it at the beginning rather than, and the other unfortunate part is that after the LOI and I'm doing it from the lease and negotiating the lease and trying to ask for these things, when the landlord says no, then salon owners can be upset about that. So it's not a good feeling from the beginning dealing with this issue. So we want to have, kind of a good experience for you in this lease negotiation, because you're going to learn a ton. So let's do it right from the beginning.
Well, whenever there's a lot of money, there's a lot of emotion. So we definitely, and nobody wants to ever feel like they didn't get what they wanted or that didn't get what they deserved or they got something different than somebody else got. I know it's like buying a car. You go in and you
Yep.
pay XYZ and you think you were a great negotiator. And then your best friend buys the exact same car with all the bells and whistles and got a lower car payment. You feel ripped off, right? So
That's it.
I love it that there's an expert. Do you do car negotiation? Maybe I need to take you with me next time. So you also have on here, Lynn, the real estate sometimes has offers, or can talk about that next bullet point that we're seeing there.
So some people choose to use a real estate agent to scout out their locations. And so if that's the case, it's really just one extra layer for you, but a real estate agent offers some of the same services that I'm offering, but it also offers something different. So they're basically looking for location. They're looking for the basic terms, and then once that's signed off, they are going to move on to the next tenant. And I know Peter has said this before, so I will say it as well, that there's nothing wrong with real estate agents. They definitely serve a purpose, but you have to understand that they will probably do one deal with you, but they will end up doing 10 deals with a landlord who has space available. So
I hear what you're trying to say there.
okay, and
I hope everybody heard that.
It isn't that, so your agent will definitely represent you, but at the same time, they might not push very hard for you. So, and they want to move on to the next thing. They kind of finish up at the LOI because they'll get a payment once that's signed off or an offer, and then they'll get the rest when the lease is signed. So it is different. And also, every real estate agent might not specialize in commercial real estate. And if they do, they might not know what every salon is looking for. So there's, those agents do serve a purpose, but it actually it still adds a lot of benefit to have a lease consultant. Even if you need that real estate agent, you're feeling comfortable doing that, a lease consultant will still add value to your LOI and to your lease.
So Lynn, it sounds to me, I know there's a lot of busy salon owners that want to expand into a second location or they're looking to go into their first location. So, but they're busy, right? They're behind the chair. They have a family. They're running, 24/7. I see that a salon owner like that might utilize a real estate agent to do the footwork for them, to kind of narrow down some properties and just come to you with the top 3 or the top 5 for you to look at, just so it's a time saver for you. But then I see totally the benefit of, letting them do the footwork, which they would be wonderful at, but then hire a second expert that reviews everything for you. Do I have that right, Lynn?
That's right. They definitely know the location, and they definitely know rental rates in the area. And, they can probably tell you kind of what the landlord might offer you. But, they're not going to negotiate your lease clause by clause, and they may not really point out things that are important to a salon owner. And, because they're really looking at it just possibly on a wide angle versus we laser focus on salons.
I love it. I think that's great. Very well explained. Okay, so this kind of just goes a little bit further into why hire a lease consultant. And I think we just kind of covered that. Is there anything else you think we should cover inside of that?
No, I think the important thing to know that when someone signs on for a lease consultation, that I take them through right to the end when they're ready to sign off on their lease. So if a landlord goes straight to lease, or if a landlord starts with an LOI, I'm there with you from the beginning. We negotiate it. And when the landlord sends you that lease, then I'll read it. I'll give you a list of the areas that I think we should ask to be improved upon. And I do that list on a separate Word document so that a salon owner could basically just send it off. It kind of looks like they did it themselves. They just send it off to the landlord with as an attachment, and say, these are the requested changes. And then when the landlord responds, the first thing the salon owner does is send it to me and says, Lynn, where are we now? Mm-hmm. So I'll go through it again, and then I'll take the half a dozen or dozen things that are still outstanding. I'll send it back to them and say, look, here's where we are. Let's have a conversation on what's important, or I'll tell you kind of what I think we should do going back. There's a few things that are important, a few things you can give away. So we have that conversation. They say yes, no. I send them off something else. They send it off to the landlord, and the landlord sends it back again. So it goes back and forth until we get a final lease. I do the review to make sure all the changes that the landlord said he was going to make made it through to the lease, and then tell the salon owner to go ahead. They're good to go. So they never feel like it's just a review and they're left on their own, because I feel it just isn't a good feeling, because every step of the way is a big step, and it's scary until you get through to the end.
So it sounds to me like this is back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth a few times.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. And each time...
It depends on the landlord. The landlord might shut us down really quick, but...
Okay.
Yeah. So the LOI, that gets negotiated fairly quickly. And then the lease happens, and, and if landlords are wanting to get those leases signed, which is the other, it's a real benefit to the salon owner. When he wants to get those signed, he's going to give concessions because he wants it done. And so he's like, yeah, no, yeah. And so you can go back and say, look, now we're down to 6 things. Now we're down to 3 things. Like, we're almost there. And, and it gives the salon owners such strength as well, and confidence to know that you can go back. And they believe, they're believing in this when they go, and they go, you know what? I want to ask the landlord for more of something, or, so it's a process for sure. And some of them will go, I'm with some of these clients for months, going back and forth until they have something that's completed.
Wow. Okay. So what do we do once the LOI or offer is signed?
So that's all part of the process. Once the LOI is signed, the landlord will send the salon owner the lease to sign. And so then that's the second part of my mandate, is to review every lease. I read it, every word, and I look for that all the items in the LOI are there, that they haven't changed it. And if they do change it, I just bring the question to the salon owner. What, I see this has changed. Was this a discussion you had? And after, besides the LOI changes, I want to make sure that the landlord doesn't put any hidden charges in there or have any unreasonable clauses that he could terminate your lease for different reasons. Some of the clauses, well, all of the clauses are very slanted towards the landlord, but some can be quite unreasonable. And, it just isn't fair if you have a hard-nosed landlord that's going to hold you to some of these things in a default and say that they can terminate your lease and so on. Maybe your bookkeeper or someone was on vacation and that check didn't make it to the landlord. There's no reason for some of these clauses. So I negotiate that as well. And just other things that are important to salon owners, like their assignment clause and their exclusive clause, all these kind of things that we want to make sure are as good as possible when the salon is starting out, so that they have as much as they deserve, the same as any of these national tenants. So when I review the lease, I give them kind of a 2-page analysis or summary of what's in the lease. And it's important information such as your start date and your expiry date. And do you have an option to renew? And if you do, what is the date? What do you have? 6 months to exercise that option and so on. So everything's there. This 2-pager, very important. Your leases get put away and never looked at again. And when you do pull it out, you're like, oh, where do I find this and that? So this 2-pager is a really good reference for you. And then besides that, as I talked about, I provide you with a list of changes that we're going to ask the landlord for. So I give you 2 different documents every time I review.
So, you know what, I'm listening to you and I'm just thinking to myself, thank goodness there's somebody like you that likes to read the fine print, because when I go through, like I just bought a house and things like that, and you're supposed to read this stuff line by line by line by line. I'm a bottom line kind of girl. And so, you don't want to skip the fine print. I just want somebody else to do it for me. So
right. Absolutely.
It sounds like you're my fine print friend when it comes to these lease negotiations. So let's talk about renewal negotiations.
Yeah. So this is probably besides knowing your rental rates, the most important thing you should know after your lease is signed. If you have a renewal option in your lease, and if I've negotiated it for you, I am hoping that you do, because it's very important to ask for these. You want to know what the terms of those agreements are. When you just have that expiry date of your lease in your head, and some salon owners don't even know what it is. They go, yeah, I expire in 2018. I think it's either March or June or And you know what? Those dates are so important to you when it comes to negotiating a renewal, because you need to exercise 6 months. Say that the lease says 6 months before. That's pretty standard. But honestly, some will say 12. Well, if you're thinking into yourself, yeah, I got to get to that, I got to look at it, and you go and check and you find out that it should have been exercised 12 months before, and here you are at 6 months before, you might have a landlord that says, you know what, we're not giving you that option. We didn't hear from you, and we've been out leasing, we've been out shopping that space. So put you in a bad position right away. And if you're just waiting till 6 months before to talk to that landlord, he knows you are going nowhere. You have no time. You have to exercise that or not. So when you're down to the wire, you're out of negotiating power. So when you look at it a year and a half before and you talk to the landlord, all of a sudden he goes, whoa, what's going on? Why are they on top of this? Are they thinking about leaving? Man, we don't want to lose them. We want to have a good discussion. It totally changes everything.
That is so interesting, Lynn. I am blown away. So here's what I know what's happening on the other end when we have our salon owners viewing this, that are current salon owners. They're probably thinking, oh my gosh, where's those lease papers? I've got to dig those out. In fact, I think I hear people shuffling papers right now, trying to look through the drawers for that piece of paper. But listen, if you're in a current lease, and if you don't know what that date is, like the back of your hand, like your own birthday, like your own anniversary, you better get that out and reinvestigate that. We're all mobile. We have these mobile devices, we have our calendars, we have Outlook. Put that date on your calendar and then read the print that says, when do you need to start having these discussions about renewals, and make sure that date is on there, right? So when is this renewal? When is your lease up? And when is your renewal date negotiation, the window of opportunity with that? Lynn, it makes so much sense. If you call them late and they know you're not going anywhere, they can do anything. And then, but if they know you're ahead of it, they might think, wow, nobody ever gets ahead of this. I better listen to what they want. And then, Lynn, so let's say they don't know you. They didn't start with you from the start, to find a location and be part of the negotiation. They're hearing this for the first time. They never knew there was such a thing as a lease consultant. Can they call you?
Absolutely.
Okay. So whether
not
you're
a problem.
a new location or whether you're ready for renewal, you need a lease consultant.
Yeah, the majority of the documents that I do are renewal negotiations.
Oh, okay.
Yes. We've been doing more of the new leases, because we're just starting to get that word out that, you know what, if you do this right from the beginning, your first 5 years are going to be set up well. And then you're kind of not going from behind at renewal time. So, and there's always things, I mean, even if you don't get what you wanted in that first negotiation, at renewal time, guess what? We're asking again. So, but it's important to know those dates and to be ready for this renewal out, because the other part of that is, if you went to the landlord and said you were wanting to negotiate and he presented you with a rate that was very high, just even as an example, things are going well, and he's like, yep, this is what you need to pay. Well, at least then, if negotiations are not going well, you have time to go and look for a new location as well. So I'm sure if you poll all of your salon owners, there are some that said, like, I got really squeezed by a landlord and either ended up paying a very high rate because I couldn't move in time, or I ended up moving because this landlord was, really making it hard on me. So
okay.
The best thing you can do for your business is to know those dates.
Right. So know those dates like the back of your hand, for sure. So I just want to kind of recap, the benefits of hiring an SSBC lease consultant, Lynn, and you're such a valued member of our team here. We, on my side of it, as a coach and consultant and speaker and author for our industry and for SSBC, I'm trying to help people make money, right? So I'm teaching them how to make money. You're teaching them how to save money. So, we make a great team on both sides of, that profit and loss statement. So everybody needs to get out your current lease, look for where your renewal options are, and, and don't try to do this alone. Let Lynn, as a specialist, as an expert, really help you understand what you're dealing with and provide you with a summary that can really lead you to being more confident in speaking to your landlord and saving you just a lot of time and money. So, Lynn,
thank you, Kristi.
Yes, you're welcome. I'm just kind of trying to think of an analogy, and I have the goofiest analogies sometimes, and I'm just going to go for this one. I don't know, it might make people laugh, but I'm trying to think of an analogy for this. And I'm just I don't know why it's coming up for me about like dentistry, but like if you need a root canal you're going to ask around, right? So you're going to ask your neighbors, who's the best endodontist in town? I need a root canal. You're not going to ask your neighbor to do the root canal, right? So it's kind of like, that's what's coming up for me with the real estate agent. They're there to help you scout the best stuff. They're not there to help you negotiate the lease. And I think sometimes we just don't know what we don't know. And that's what happens. And then we get, into leases that, and it's not that they're being bad or even having favoritism. I don't think. It's just that they're not an expert. You're an expert. You are the person that we need to go to have these important things done. So, Lynn, what's the next step?
So the previous slide, one thing that I would want to point out on that, Kristi, was that a lease review can be done at any time. And it's a service that we have been talking about for a bit, that because salon owners don't know all the details of their lease. And so at SSBC, we've said, you know what, let's offer a service that, I mean, maybe you're only 1 year in or 2 years into your lease, but you're like, you know what, I'd like all of those details. So I can review your lease for you and provide you with that summary so that you have all of those details. And if it isn't in the lease, then I can ask the questions, you ask the landlord, you get the information, and we have it all in one place. So then you're set up for a couple of years from now. You go, you know what, I'm good. I know when my dates are, and I can pull that out and I can look it over, and then I can talk to Lynn at that time for my renewal. But a lot of the work's already been done, which again is very beneficial because we're not under that that time crunch that I'm going to need an extra week in order to read your lease. It's already been done. We do a little review of that, and then we move on to the negotiation with the landlord. So it is something that we can do at any time. But when they do call or email, the process is always the same, that we have an authorization form signed with the financial services. You send me all your information with respect to your signed documents, if it's a renewal, your unsigned documents, what you've discussed with the landlord, and the things that are important to you. Sometimes when you're in a renewal situation, wow, bad things have happened in the last 5 years, and you want to make sure there's something in the lease to cover it. So they send all that information, we sign off on our authorization form, and away we go. So typically it's about a week to 10 days is what I tell people that I need to review these properly. I always try to deliver before that, but it depends. And I do find that after things like this, there's a flood, and yeah. I get a little backlog.
Okay. Well, that happens when we get the information out, because sometimes it's like, wow, I didn't know that. I just didn't even know there was a special consultant out there. And, like I said, we have all these like specialty departments now with Summit Salon Business Center. We have our front desk division. We have our financial services division. And that's the division that Lynn works under. So she's a specialist consultant. So Lynn, I know that there's a process to all of this. And then you obviously have consultant fees that go along with this service. So how does somebody get a hold of you to talk through their situation, find out what cost it is for your services and so forth? Would they send you an email? What's the first step?
Either way, they can send me an email and ask me to provide them with, the type of service I provide and what the cost is, or they can give me a call. They can just leave me a message if I am not able to get to my phone, and I will call back, and we can have a conversation. And honestly, there are some, if you look at your renewal option and it says, it's already spelled out what the rates are going to be, and you're happy, and you might not need my services, and we have that conversation as well. So it doesn't cost to speak to me. I find out what your situation is, and we see if these services will work for you, or if you're already fine.
Right. And as you know, Summit Salon Business Center is all about helping you grow your top line and your bottom line. We
Mhm.
do that by giving you information that always has a return on investment. And so here's what we know with salons that Lynn has served, the cost of consulting way outweighs the money that you're going to save over and over and over again in those rent payments. So, and I don't know what that ratio is. It just depends on, it depends on your lease, and it depends on what's in there and what Lynn can do for you. But, that's what Lynn wants to do, is find out your situation, find out if it is worth it for you to invest in the services. And I would imagine, Lynn, that most people need you.
Yeah, I would have to say it's probably 8 or 9 out of 10 is, that I am able to help them. But I had a conversation just on Friday with someone, and he's in really good shape. I mean, he's used Summit Salon Business Center already for leasing, so he's thinking ahead to his renewal. Yeah. And we had the discussion, and he was like, "Okay, what do I do? What do you think? Can I do something to try to save money?" And we had some conversation, and I was like, "You know what? I think you're set up for your renewal. Have the conversation with the landlord, but I don't think there's anything else that we really need to do for him." So he was very happy with that. I'm certainly not going to provide a consulting fee if I can't add value. There is no sense in doing that. I want to make sure that salons are operating efficiently, and if there's something I can do to help, happy to. If they are good to go, well, then they can move on to the next thing they have to worry about.
There's plenty of things out there. All of those balls that the salon owner is juggling out there, right? Mm-hmm. So, well, that's excellent. I just appreciate your time and your generosity for being on with us for this important topic webinar, as well as your time and generosity to just reviewing if you can help people. And we do appreciate that you do that out of the kindness of your heart, knowing that, that's our goal, is to provide great direction for all of our accounts. All right, everybody. And Lynn, I just want to say thank you so much for being here with us for this great topic. Another great topic in our webinar series with SSBC. And Lynn, you were just a gem as an expert, and you gave us enough information to make a good decision to call you. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Any last words that you have for our audience?
No, I just hope to hear from them when it comes time for them to review their leases. And I hope everybody is doing well, and just think of me at lease negotiation time. Happy to help.
All right, Lynn. Well, thank you. And I just want to say goodbye to everyone. I wish you the best success, and we'll see you next time on the next webinar topic. Goodbye for now.